Hi, I'm LJ, and I'm one of the Coptic ministers. Those of us who are part of the Coptic Fellowship community know of our founder, Hamid Bey, that he was born in Italy, but he was actually raised in Egypt. And we know of his history, too, where he was raised in the monastery or in the mystery schools of Egypt. So after a couple of decades there, and after completing the mastery, 7-ring mastery that he was part of in the monastery, he was sent to the United States. At that time, as in the 1920s, 1930s, with Houdini doing his magic, doing his things, and saying that everything was fake. Everything was fake. He could prove it. Well, what's been interesting as a librarian, I've found a really interesting book that's actually called The Witch of Lime Street, and it talks in this book about Houdini, and Houdini being the focus. But in reading the book, it was interesting because I found a reference to our Hamid Bey there. Now, we do know that in his history, too, that when he came to the United States, and a short time after that, Houdini actually died. And so he was here to do the work here in the United States, along with Paramahansa Yogananda. And I'll refer to the book that's there. It says, My Life Preceding 5,000 Burials. So we know that he had 5,000 burials that he was involved with. And in this particular book called The Witch of Lime Street, Houdini's trying to prove he can handle one. But this is the description. It takes place in New York. Oh, and at the time that this was actually written to, the person that wrote the book, too, calls Hamid Bey Raman Bey, which is interesting. Okay. It is just after noon on August 5, Houdini was put into his casket. He wore a watch with a radium dial, and next to him was a battery-powered telephone so that he could communicate with the coffin. Sealed inside, he was lowered beneath the surface of the Sheldon Hotel pool in Manhattan. An unparalleled demonstration began. Houdini was attempting to prove he could rise from a watery grave after having been submerged for more than an hour. The great Houdini had had showdowns with Marjorie, Bird, and the spiritualists en masse when he confronted them in Washington. This time he was dealing with another of his nemesis, Hereward Carrington, who had always avoided the seances that Houdini attended. But now Dr. Carrington was promoting the work of an Italo-Egyptian named Raman Bey, who mystified New York audiences that summer. On the stage of the Selwyn Theater, Bey punctured his cheeks and breasts with hatpins, then slashed the folds of his neck with a dagger. He showed physicians how he could increase the pulse rate of one wrist while simultaneously slowing down the other. Dr. Carrington, his manager, said that Bey had an almost unlimited ascendancy over the body. He hypnotized animals and psychically read the thoughts of volunteers from the house. And in his most remarkable feat, he was encased in an airtight coffin that rested at the bottom of the Dalton Hotel pool for 1 hour. He emerged from it, Houdini-like, happy and triumphant. For Houdini, this was an old act in the days of Ivatimo Tardo, probably even old when the pyramids were erected. There was as much Eastern hypnosis in Bey's work, he told Walter Lippmann, as there was a lack of liquor in America. The problem, he explained, said Houdini, was that since Carrington had not attributed his performer's work to supernaturalism, Houdini was bound by the ethics of the magic profession not to reveal Bey's circus methods. The only thing to do, Houdini decided, was to surpass him. At 52, he was twice Bey's age. He carried 20 pounds more weight than he had during his prime. He had high blood pressure and was phasing out his more acrobatic escapes. But Houdini never ducked a challenger, and so, after weeks of arduous training, he was put in a coffin and lowered into the pool at the Hotel Shelton. Designed like an Ottoman bath with a high gallery and ornate tiles, it was a right setting for a display of sorcery. Houdini had emphasized, however, that the feat required no spiritualistic power or mastery of Eastern mysteries. The telephone wasn't there for the dead to speak to the living, but so that he could call for help if he felt himself losing consciousness. For decades, Houdini had relied on his uncanny dexterity and athleticism, yet he knew that to match Hamid Bey, he would have to achieve a preternatural state of motionless and inner quiet. 6 swimmers held the coffin underwater by stepping on it. Whenever one of them slipped and the coffin bobbed, it was agony for the escape artist, Houdini, inside. It was a struggle to control his breath and sustain the depleting oxygen in the coffin. Physicians said it would be impossible for him to endure more than 15 minutes underwater. He remained there far longer, while the reporters in their straw skimmers quietly counted the minutes. There was a pall over his demonstration. Houdini's intention was not to entertain or escape. His goal was survival. After 90 minutes, Houdini had shattered Hamid Bey's record by half an hour. Within the sweltering box, he was panting and disoriented. His lungs burned. His saliva tasted like metal. He saw yellow flashes and felt agitated. Finally, he called for the casket to be raised. There were no shackles to be held up, no bows to take. Houdini never felt such relief, though, as when they pried the lid off the coffin. The onlookers applauded while the doctors revived him like an emergency patient. His pulse was racing. His systolic blood pressure had soared. His diastolic had plummeted dangerously. He was bathed in sweat, his face deathly white. He was smiling broadly, though. And Carrington was saying that Houdini must have had oxygen pumped through the telephone line. Otherwise, the achievement was impossible. No one was listening to him. The invitation-only audience, mostly newspapermen, gathered around the escape artist, their pens at the ready. But Houdini, he had little to say after this, his final resurrection. The book is The Witch of Lime Street and about Hamid Bey. Thank you.